Hello and welcome to Immigration USA with Kathia. My name is Kathia Quiros. I'm an immigration lawyer in Las Vegas, Nevada. And my job today is to provide you information about what is going on in the lives of immigrants in the United States. What is going on with the protests in Los Angeles and the other protests that are happening and they are preparing in all around the country. What happens to immigrants and what happens to the US citizens who are protesting. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about special immigrant juveniles and how they have just lost the opportunity to obtain an employment authorization. We're going to talk about all these raids and deportations and the rights of immigrants. So stay with me because at the end, I'm also going to answer questions. So if you have any questions, please stay tuned because there will be time for me to answer your questions. As I said before, my name is Kathia Quiros. I'm an immigration lawyer. I've been doing this for 21 years, and it is a privilege for me to serve immigrants and their families in the United States. And for the past many years, 7 years to be exact, I've been hosting a show in Spanish called Immigrando con Kathia. And it's not until this year that I decided to start doing this work in English. And it is a perfect time because we need to spread information because information is power. And because now more than ever, the immigrant community is being attacked. And we need to know how to respond to the attacks. And we don't respond with force of violence. We respond with knowledge, with information. We respond peacefully. So let's talk about these protests that are going on in Los Angeles specifically. Why Los Angeles? Well, Los Angeles is a sanctuary city. And you're probably asking, what is a sanctuary city, Kathia? Well, a sanctuary city, it's a state or a city that it's pro-immigrant, that has no intention or desire to attack immigrants in any way, shape, or form, unless the immigrant attacks the state or the city first. How do you attack a city or a state? By committing crimes. So as long as you do not commit crimes, then these states are really a sanctuary because they don't have policies that enforce going after immigrants. Now, the cities and the states can say, we are sanctuary cities, we are pro-immigrant, but the federal government is something else. And the federal government has its own agenda and its own way of treating immigrants. So in the previous administration, during the Biden administration was also kind of pro-immigrant, right? And they had a list of priorities of who they wanted to go after, who they wanted to deport. And it was criminals and terrorists and people with prior criminal records, with prior deportations. Nowadays, we are in the Trump administration. And the Trump administration started by got votes by offering that they were going to deport millions and millions of criminal aliens. Well, when President Trump started his term, they went out very strongly against immigrants who had prior criminal records. But they've tried for many months to find them and to deport them. And they found a lot, meaning 40, 50, 60,000. But they haven't been able to find more than that. And President Trump was offering to deport millions. Remember when I started, I said millions of criminal aliens. Where are they? They're nowhere because we immigrants are not criminals. That is the truth. That is a fact. It's not what you may think. It is the facts. The facts are that the government cannot find millions of criminal aliens because they don't exist. And when an immigrant comes undocumented or overstays a visa and becomes undocumented, that doesn't make anybody a criminal. The Code of Immigration, it's a code of administrative law. It is not a criminal code. And so violating an immigration law doesn't make you a criminal. So there are some crimes related to immigration that are in the criminal code, for example, illegal reentry, which is when you commit a crime, a felony, you are deported and you try to come back. That is something else. But being undocumented or coming undocumented or overstaying a visa does not make you a criminal. So for that reason, they cannot claim that they cannot go after just anybody and say, oh, all of these are criminals. No. So when the government realized that they couldn't find all these criminal aliens because they don't exist, then the government decided that they were going to go just basically after anybody. And they started going after the people that had violated orders of deportation. There are a lot of people who, when they come, they are very poor. They don't know the language, so they don't show up at their immigration court appointments. And so when you don't show up at an immigration court appointment, that judge issues an order of deportation in absentia. The person is not there, is absent, but they still get an order of deportation. Well, then ICE started going after all these people, right? Why? Because when you arrest somebody with a prior criminal conviction or somebody with a prior order of deportation, those people don't have the right to be bonded out. Those people don't have the right to see a judge anymore because they already did. When they committed the crime and they saw a judge, the judge ordered them deported, they re-entered, they already did. Some of these people who committed crimes have never seen an immigration judge, and they're going to be, when ICE detains them, they're going to be detained. They don't have the right to be bonded. So ICE started going after these people who did not have criminal record, but they had a deportation order. And even then, they couldn't come up to the numbers that the Trump administration wanted, because there is not that many. That's the truth. The truth is there are more than 15 million undocumented immigrants now in the United States, and you will not find not even 200,000 or 300,000 criminals. And out of the quantity, there shouldn't be any. Don't get me wrong. There shouldn't be any. Immigrants should be law-abiding people and shouldn't get into any type of crime. But if you make a proportion, out of 15 million, what is the proportion of 100,000? It's very, 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 very little compared to the American citizens, right? So anyways, they first tried to go to the criminals. They couldn't find them because there are none. Well, there are not the amount. Then they tried to go after the people who already had orders of deportations, and they caught a lot of them. So now the number went up to probably 60,000 altogether. And when they announced that they had already deported 100,000 people, 40,000 of those are people who have nothing but being undocumented, are people who have never committed a crime, who have never received an order of deportation. They are simple, humble people. The people who build your house, or who does your lawn, or who picks the strawberries for you to have food in the table. And so these people have been in this country for many, many years, and they have families and they have kids, just like us. So ICE went after these people. They call them collaterals. Collateral for ICE is, we are going to look for a criminal, but if we find somebody else, if the person is undocumented, we're still going to detain them. And you may say, well, Kathia, they're undocumented. Yes, they're undocumented, but they shouldn't be treated as criminals, and they should be given the opportunity to fight their deportation, right? Well, that is not happening. The government now is doing things that are completely against the law, that they're abusive in nature, and their only excuse is that this person is undocumented. But we have laws. We have laws that the government are not following. They are not respecting the law. Well, anyways, then, because there is a timeline for everything that is going on right now, then there was a meeting where Steve Miller and Kristi Noem, which are an advisor of the president on immigration issues and the secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, had a meeting with ICE officials, and they specifically told them that they needed to deport 3,000 people per day. And otherwise, they were going to lose their jobs. So how do you deport 3,000 people a day when you can't find those criminals and you can't find that many people with prior deportation orders? Well, then you go after anybody, and you have to find them in groups, because if you go house by house, it's going to take forever and you're not going to be able to do that 3,000. So that's why they decided to go to places with high immigrant populations and to places where they are together. And that's why they're targeting right now Home Depots and Lowe's and landscaping stores, big landscaping stores, where there are unskilled laborers standing at these places offering their services for their job. So this is happening right now in Los Angeles. It's going to happen in California because they're attacking California, because California, oh my God, what happened with my TikTok? I lost it. No, hold on, guys. I think I lost the battery on my phone. Sorry. I'll come back at some point. This will come back. Anyways, am I charging? How do I know if I'm charging or not? Let me see. No, it's not charging. Why? Hold on a second, please. Am I charging now? No. Hi guys, hold on one second. Bear with me. I'm trying to do the best I can in the circumstances, of course. Let me see if I can do this. Now I'm getting back. There. I'll be back. I'm here. I'm just looking for a way to connect these to another power source because the one I had wasn't working. Oh, bear with me, guys. Okay. I think we are back in business. Hold on one second. Okay, now we're back in business. Let me see if I can go back to my TikTok. Okay, so I'm back. I'm so sorry. I thought my battery was being charged, but my power source wasn't working. So anyways, I was telling you that these the government decided to just go after groups of people. So this week and next week, they started in California, they started in Los Angeles, but they're gonna go to all the Home Depots where they know there are big immigrant populations. So beware, they're gonna go all around the United States. Now, they started in Los Angeles and they thought that that they were going to be super successful and they were going to make their 3,000 people per day. But guess what? What happened was that they started in an area that was almost 90% Hispanic. And when they went to close all the entries and exits of the Home Depot, the people who were behind them in normal traffic, because nobody expected this, had to stop their cars. And when they realized what was happening, they got out of their cars and they started telling ICE, what you're doing is wrong. You can treat these people this way. And now this has turned into 4 days of protests. And the president has decided to send the National Guard. The National Guard, it works for the government of the state of California and normally obeys the orders of the governor of the state of California, Mr. Newsom. So Mr. Newsom was not in agreement with the president. He didn't think that we needed the National Guard because the protests started as pacific protests, peaceful protests. And there were some acts of violence, and we cannot repeat them. We need to protest in the most peaceful way, because what we need is for thousands and thousands of US citizens to come out and say, stop, what you're doing is wrong. You are attacking innocent people. And so right now, if you ask me who is doing these protests, are immigrants going out? Well, no. These are the people who are protesting right now are not the immigrants. The immigrants are so afraid, and you have every right to be afraid if you're an immigrant right now. Because right now, our rights are not being protected. So if you're an immigrant and you're thinking about going to any of these protests, don't. Because if you are detained by ICE, you may be deported. And if you have kids, if you have families, if you have parents, if you are supporting your family, then you cannot take that risk. The people who are protesting right now are US citizens, and they are the first and second generation US citizens. They are the kids of immigrant parents, and they are the grandkids of immigrant parents. And they are people of every color who are frustrated with the pain and the fear and the chaos that all of these policies from the government are creating. So do we need to continue protesting? I believe so, but we have to do it in a very respectful way, in a very peaceful way. We may walk out, US citizens, you can walk out, you can march, you can sing, you can scream, you can have your big cardboards showing your sentiment, your thoughts, but in any way, shape, or form, you cannot commit any act of violence. So what happens when you go in a protest? What happens when you march? What happens if it's a peaceful protest, then nothing should happen. You just walk around an area expressing your feelings, and then you go home, right? If there is any act of violence, then things may get out of control. And if that happens, you need to get out of that place. You don't want to be in any area where there is any kind of turmoil. What happens if you are detained because you are acting in a way that an officer of the government may think it's inappropriate, or you're standing at a place where you're not supposed to be standing? That's enough for police or for ICE or for FBI, whoever, to detain you for civil disobedience, okay? And so it's very important that you learn these terms, civil disobedience. What is civil disobedience? Civil disobedience is when law enforcement needs to calm down a situation, and you may be detained and taken to a detention center to be processed, and then you will be released, because the only reason you were detained is because you were committing an act of civil disobedience. You were being disobedient to the orders. If the officer says, say, get out, and you don't move and you stand still, then they're going to remove you from that place. That's called civil disobedience. They detain you for a few hours and then they release you, and then you have to go to see the judge, and then the judge is going to tell you what's going to be the fine for your civil disobedience. Is that a crime, a criminal crime? No, it's not. It's an act of civil disobedience. Now, what happens if you are in a protest and you commit an act of violence? At that very moment, things get very ugly, because now you are a criminal. That act of violence, it's going to make you a criminal. And they're not going to detain you for an act of civil disobedience. They're going to detain you and they're going to put criminal charges against you. It could be terrorism. It could be assault to law enforcement. It could be disturbing, obstructing justice, obstructing the work of law enforcement. And those are crimes. Those are not anymore demerits or tickets. No. Those are real crimes. And those crimes may put you in jail for a long time. So do not risk your life in any protest, in any march, just because you are upset or angry. No. Please express your opinion, march, protest, but peacefully. Do not commit any act of violence, because that hurts the immigrants. If we protest and we commit crimes, then we're sending the wrong message. We're saying immigrants are criminals. No, we are not. We're not violent people. We are responsible, honest, hardworking people. And that's the image we need to show to others. There are being protests that organizers are working on everywhere in the United States. So all you have to do is look in your city, in your town, what is going on, and you will find out. And if you're a U.S. citizen and you have time, please do it in a very peaceful way. Just come out and say, I'm against these deportations of innocent people. I'm against this breakage of families. This is wrong. Okay, so now I also want to talk to you guys about SIJS and how the government has decided to cancel the employment authorizations for kids with special immigrant juvenile visas. So let's start from the beginning. What are special immigrant visas? In the United States, when a kid arrives in the United States and the kid arrives alone with no parents, we have a visa for kids who have been abandoned, neglected, or mistreated by one or both of their parents. And I don't know if you remember, but for many years, lots of kids from Central America arrived alone. They were little kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 14, 16 years old, and their parents, in fear for their lives and for the maras and the gangs to kill them, sent their kids by themselves. And it is horrible. And these kids arrived, and sometimes they had, uncles or aunts or cousins who decided to become their guardians. But these kids were able to apply for this visa, special immigrant juvenile status. And this visa allows them to be in the United States legally once the visa is approved. It takes some time. It takes about a couple years for them to obtain the status. But once they have the status, at the beginning, supposedly you could obtain the status and apply for the green card. But nowadays, you cannot do that. You obtain the status and then you have to wait many years until there is a visa available for the green card. And because of that, the government decided these kids are growing up. And once they become adults, we don't want to have them in the United States without working. So we're going to give them an employment authorization. So for many years, they've been obtaining employment authorizations while they wait for their time to get the green card until Friday. The Trump administration has decided that kids that obtain special immigrant juvenile status will no longer be able to obtain an employment authorization. They will be able to remain in the United States, but they will have to wait until their time comes to ask for the green card to be able to work and obtain an employment authorization. I mean, how does this make sense? I don't know, because you have kids who arrived alone. You give them status. You tell them, okay, you're going to remain in the United States, but who's going to support them? If they turn to become adults, now they're over 18, who is supposed to provide for them? Because the government hasn't provided for them, and the government is not going to provide for them. They're not eligible for public benefits. They're immigrants. So what happens? Hold on one second. Yes, Carla. Okay. This is Carla, my daughter.
Hi.
Okay, ¿qué necesitas, amor?
¿Puedo ponerme la colita?
Yes, go ahead. And it's an afternoon at home, and Carla cut his finger, and now she's asking me, her finger, and now she's asking me about a Band-Aid. No, you put it on top. Okay, I'm so sorry for this. Okay, anyways, so these kids now are going to be 18. They're going to be here because they legally can stay here, but they're not going to be able to work until they can apply for the green card. So who's going to provide for them? We don't know. If they have two hands, they're going to want to work, but now they cannot work. And why is the government doing this? Because they want to make them tired. They want to force them to leave the United States, and that they think that this is going to work. The problem is that this is not going to work, right? And all of us know that it's not going to work because there are jobs. We need hands to work in the United States. And as long as there is work and there is the need for employees, as long as there are businesses who need the workforce, there will be people willing to work. So it's really sad what is going with special immigrant juvenile status. There are a lot of kids who right now have an employment authorization under category C14 and will not be able to renew them until this policy changes again. So many things are happening in the world of immigration, but right now, the most important thing is to calm down the fear of our immigrants communities, because I know there is a lot of fear, but you have to find strength in the conviction that the law is the law. And no matter how much this administration tries to break the law and go against immigrants as if we would have no protections, the truth is that the Constitution still gives some type of protection to immigrants. And if immigrants know their rights, then they can try to make the best out of every difficult situation. So let's talk about this, okay? If you're an immigrant who's been here in the United States for less than 2 years, you are in a different situation than if you are an immigrant who is in the United States for more than 2 years. If you're in the United States for less than 2 years and you have an encounter with ICE, you have no right for almost anything, and it's very likely you will be deported and returned to your home country. However, if you have more than 2 years in the United States, you have one of the most important rights. It's the right to see a judge, the right to have an immigration deportation process. And if you have a deportation process, you have to go to immigration court. You are able to see a judge, and you are able to ask for a benefit to the judge if you qualify for this benefit. So what can you ask? Depends. Every situation is different. You can ask for cancellation of deportation if you have the requirements. You have asked for adjustment of status if you have the requirements. You can ask for asylum if you have the requirements. It all depends in the specific situation of every different person. But if you encounter ICE and you don't request your right to see a judge, it's very possible that you will be never offered your rights. And you instead, the government ICE will try to make you sign a voluntary departure. What is voluntary departure? It's a process that the government has where they make you sign a document that says, I don't want to see a judge. I just want out of this place. Please take me back to my country. And if you sign that document, you will never see a judge. You will never be able to be bonded out. You will never go home. So one of the first thing that I want you to know is that if you are detained by ICE, you need to ask for your opportunity to see the judge. You have to say your name, your real name. Don't ever lie. But once you give your name, you say, I want to talk to my lawyer. I want to see a judge. I am not signing any document. Those four things are the magic words that are going to stop ICE from pursuing your immediate deportation. And so it's really important that you know your rights. It's very important that you understand that when you get out of your house, you need to have a form of ID. A form of ID, it's extremely important. And if you have a form of ID, a card that has your picture and your name, it could be a local form of ID. It could be from the DMV. But if you don't have one from the DMV, you need to carry one from your home country because you are an immigrant, right? And if you don't have a form of ID, the chances of being arrested are 100%. But if you have a form of ID, then it's in the officer's discretion if they give you a ticket or if they arrest you. So the chances of being arrested for not having an ID are much higher when we talk about police and that type of law enforcement. Now, when we're talking about ICE, ICE doesn't care, right? If you have a form of ID or not. If they think that you're an immigrant, they're gonna arrest you. And if you're a US citizen, you will have to, it'll take time before you can show them that you are really a US citizen because they have already in the past arrested US citizens. So you have to be mindful of these things. It's very, very, very important. Well, I've talked a lot. I'm so sorry for the long monologue, but there is so much information that I want to give you. And I hope that you will help me share this information with others because it's really important that we educate the immigrant community. Now you can ask me your questions. So go ahead, ask me, and if I can answer, I'll be happy to do it. Martial law will probably start in Los Angeles. Well, we'll see. Gavin Newsom, the governor, has already filed a lawsuit against the government for bringing the National Guard. The president has already said that he will not invoke the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act is a law that says that the federal government can take over the governance of the state when there is an insurrection. Insurrection means that the people are fighting against the government. But right now, the people are not fighting against the government. They are protesting the abuses of ICE. So I don't think it's possible to claim the Insurrection Act. And martial law, yeah, maybe. If people, I mean, the government has already notified all the protesters that the protest is illegal, that the state of California does not want this protest to continue. And the people are not going home. And so we'll see what's going to happen with that. But as long as we remain in a peaceful protest, everything will calm down and will be okay. What we cannot tolerate are acts of violence. So let me see what other questions I have here. I am doing this in Immigration USA with Kathia. Everything here is in English. So please be mindful of that so that we can share this with all the English immigrant community. I have 3 military kids. Can they help me? It depends. The fact that you have a US citizen child does not mean that you're going to get papers because it doesn't depend on the kid. It depends on you and how many entries you have, and what criminal record you have, and things like that. So it depends. We would need to know more. Let me see. My mom has her biometrics appointment June 16. Is it safe for her to go? Yes, biometrics appointment is safe unless the person has an arrest warrant. I've never had an issue with people going to a biometrics appointment. And most people might be asking, what is a biometrics appointment? Well, when you apply for a benefit with the Department of Immigration, with USCIS, the first thing they do is they send you to an appointment where they're going to take your fingerprints. And we call that appointment biometrics appointment. They're not going to see an immigration officer. They're going to see a person that has been contracted to take your fingerprints. And so it's pretty safe, especially if whatever you are applying for, you know that you have the requirements. So make sure that your mother did not do anything with a notario or a document preparer. Document preparers don't have the knowledge to know when is the right time to apply for anything. They are not lawyers. They don't know the law. They just fill out papers. So right now, it's not the time for anybody to be filling out papers for anybody. Can we file a 601A even though my husband was denied 8 years ago? It depends. I think before you file another 601A, you should file a FOIA to the Department of Immigration to find out what is the reason that the 601A was denied. Because they send you a denial letter, but behind the denial letter, there are other documents that we are able to see if we FOIA. Do I need to go and scan my QR to report to ICE even at these times, or can I do it online? I don't understand what is QR. And scan my QR. What is QR? I'm sorry, I cannot. I don't understand, G. You have to tell me. Let me see. She says, G says, she's not going to answer any questions. And here I am answering your question. It's safe to travel with stamp added 551 with extension for 4 years. I don't have my expired green card. Yes, Aradis, it's safe. If you don't have any criminal record, if you have never been deported, it's safe. Yeah, I already answered. Says, why are you not doing it in Spanish? Because you're in the English page. When I finish this, if I have time, I'll go and do it in Inmigrando con Katia. But right now, you are in the English page. I submitted my work permit on March 14. I just had my biometrics done. Does this affect me? No. What is better? Appointment schedule CJ. What currently in process to adjust? Appointment schedule CJ July. I don't understand in July. I don't know what is better. What is better between what? SSM, let me know. Thanks for the roses and the diamonds and everything. I truly appreciate that you like what I'm doing. I have DACA. Can I travel in the US? Yes. If you don't, yes, you can travel. I hope you don't have any criminal record. If you don't, then yeah, you're okay to travel. Okay, guys, I think I've answered all the questions that I was able to read. Is it possible for you to deny citizenship if you don't speak English, even if you pass everything else? Yes, of course. When you go to a citizenship interview, a naturalization interview, you don't only have to answer the questions. Answer the questions is easy. You memorize the answer and that's fine. You need to show that you are able to talk in English, to answer questions like, how is the weather today? Or how are you doing? How are you feeling? And what persecution means, things like that. So beware that if you don't understand basic English, they can deny your citizenship, your citizenship application, even if you answer the questions correctly. Let me see. My mom, yeah, I already answered that one. Pablo says, why are you doing this in English? Pablo, you are in my English channel right now, Immigration USA with Kathia. I do everything in Spanish in Inmigrando con Kathia, which is another page. Can a kid who obtained special immigrant juvenile status file a petition for their parents or step-parents? No. If you obtain special immigrant juvenile status, you are not allowed to petition for your parents. Why? Because that visa is for kids who have been neglected, abandoned, or mistreated by their parents, one or both. So there is no option to petition for them. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you learned something new today. And if you feel it's important information, please share it. Please help me bring the information to others. And let's create a community in English where we can obtain lots of information to make better decisions to continue working and raising our families in the United States. Bye-bye.